How's it going, my dudes? This video's brought to you by Squarespace today. Benjamin Sisko is one of the greatest orators in Star Trek history, thanks in no small part to Avery Brooks's commanding performance. He managed to guide his crew through some of the most difficult challenges that Starfleet ever faced, and he did so with a deft hand. We would say he did this whenever the situation arose, but quite frankly, the situation arose quite a lot on Deep Space Nine. It tackled heady themes like isolationism, xenophobia, religious intolerance, and the horrors of war. Now, in this series of best speeches, we've seen Kirk and Picard discuss hot-button topics of the day, DS9, of course, being no different. Sisko would calmly talk us through whatever today's issue was, or stand from his chair as he shouted down a treacherous former security chief. You know, whatever this week called for. While the show has been off the air for almost 20 years, many of the themes remain depressingly relevant today. So let us listen to some of Sisko's words and hope that some of them may take root within the ears of some of the fandom today. With that in mind, I'm Sean Ferrick for TrekCulture, and here are 10 greatest Captain Sisko speeches. Number 10. A Saint in Paradise. The problem is Earth. By the time Deep Space Nine was entering its second season, we had seen many times that Earth had become a quasi-utopia in the 24th century. Throughout the 2360s and 70s, it was shown as the perfect planet, and it was becoming an issue. The people living there were becoming ambivalent to the struggles that other planets in the quadrants were facing. A human of Earth could go through the academy in this perfect place and then find themselves deployed among other humans in a place that was so alien and bizarre to them, one such place being the demilitarized zone. Well, it's easy to be a saint in paradise, but the Maquis do not live in paradise. Out there in the demilitarized zone, all the problems haven't been solved yet. Out there are no saints, just people. Sisko was tasked with bringing in his old friend Calvin Hudson, who'd gone over to the Maquis, but far from finding the man so unbelievable, he understood his position. He may not have agreed with it, but he understood it. In the Maquis Parts 1 and 2, the audience was treated to a Starfleet commander being faced with a difficult choice. How could he stop a group with whom he sympathized? It would not be the only time Sisko would be faced with this choice. Number 9. You can't kill an idea. Avery Brooks pulled double duty in Far Beyond the Stars. Not only did he deliver one of the speeches for the ages, but he also directed the episode, delivering a staggering slice of sci-fi realism. As Benny Russell, Brooks encapsulates much of the struggles that were faced by African American people in the 1950s in America. Though Star Trek on the whole tends to show a brighter future and a better tomorrow, Deep Space Nine never shied away from showing some of the troubles of the past, and let's face it, present. This was exemplified in Benny's breakdown, speaking to the power of creation and reality. Do you hear what I'm telling you? You can pulp a story, but you cannot destroy an idea. Don't you understand? That's ancient knowledge. You cannot destroy an idea. Though this is delivered in the wake of crushing news for Benny, it speaks to all people who have been stepped on with casual brutality. Earlier in the episode, we had seen Jimmy, played by Sirach Lofton, gunned down in the streets by racist cops who then proceed to beat Benny Russell down. Yet it is the simple disregard for Benny by Mr. Paps, played by René Auberjonois, that's almost more difficult to watch. Far Beyond the Stars could rank as Deep Space Nine's finest hour, and while technically this speech is not delivered by Captain Sisko, it feels criminal not to include it in this list. Number 8. I can live with it. In the Pale Moonlight sometimes feels overdone in the fandom, but there's a reason it turns up on lists all the time. It is that good. It also stands as some of Brooks's finest performances as Sisko. The whole episode is told in flashback via Sisko's log, and it details Sisko's efforts, along of course with Garrick's, to bring the Romulans into the Dominion War on the side of the Federation. Star Trek had never gone this dark before. Now don't get me wrong, we had seen Starfleet commanders ordering people on what effectively would become suicide missions, so we had seen people being ordered to their deaths. But this was different. So, I lied. I cheated. I bribed men to cover the crimes of other men. I am an accessory to murder. But the most damning thing of all, I think I can live with it. And if I had to do it all over again, I would. That simple passage encapsulates many of the ideals that seem antithetical to Star Trek. A captain of a starship, or starbase in this case, was openly admitting to heinous crimes. And what's more, that they were okay with it? It was a truly Machiavellian statement to make, immediately pushing Sisko out from the light of the angels and into much murkier water. So I will learn to live with it. Because I can live with it. It's difficult today to truly express how it felt to hear those words in the late 90s. But one thing was certain, Star Trek would never be the same again. Number 7. The nature of true evil. Gul Dukat is, in my humble opinion, the greatest villain in all of Star Trek. Mark Alaimo imbued the character with such depth that it's incredibly unnerving to watch the performance. Waltz is a culmination of the long game that Dukat and Sisko played together. In this episode, Dukat's full megalomania comes to the surface. Stranded on a desolate world, waiting for whomever comes to save them first, Sisko and Dukat cut through the BS. Dukat finally reveals the truth and his true plans for Bajor. They're not pretty. Though they had sparred for years, erupting into full-scale war once Cardassia joined the Dominion, this would be the final time that Sisko and Dukat would come face-to-face until the finale. The stage was set as Sisko informs Jadzia at the episode's close. I'm not going to let him destroy Bajor. I fear no evil. From now on, it's him or me. In this short exchange, Sisko set him up as the final barrier to Dukat's plans, and as we would go on to discover, he kept his promise. Number 6. A Place Called Home. Call to Arms is one of the greatest season finales in all of Star Trek, and while technically it's a cliffhanger, it's also a promise to keep the fight going. While the following episode would see a new horizon for Starfleet, there was high tension here mixed with a sense of devastated hope. While the Dominion forces swarm around the station, Sisko does his best to coordinate its defences. The Defiant lays the mines around the wormhole while the Rataran guards that ship, but there's a conspicuous absence of any other Starfleet backup. This leads to the shocking order to evacuate Deep Space Nine. While Star Trek had depicted the loss of hero ships before, with Star Trek III The Search for Spock and Star Trek Generations serving as examples here, this one was painful to watch. It wasn't just being lost, it was being stolen. This pain was compounded by Sisko's speech before his departure. No victory can make this moment any easier for me. And I promise, I will not rest until I stand with you again, here, in this place where I belong. Far more than simply a promise to return, this was the clearest evidence we'd ever received that the Sisko who arrived on Deep Space Nine in Emissary was no more. This was a man who had not only settled into his post, but had come to see the Bajoran sector as his stomping grounds and the Bajoran people as his family. It was a sore moment to see him forced to leave, though surely no one believed that any number of enemy vessels would keep him away for very long. Number 5. We are explorers. When Deep Space Nine began airing in 1993, it did so in the shadow of The Next Generation, which of course by that time had become a hugely popular show. However, in The Next Generation's early years, it was mired with comparisons to the original series, so when DS9 came along, it knew it had to do something a little different. Sisko was a commander as opposed to a captain, and he was not the level-headed diplomat that Picard and even Kirk before had been. He was the working everyman, raising a son alone, and the trauma that he acquired at Wolf 359 held on to him like a vice. Through the prophets and through his trauma, he became a gateway for them to understand humanity. That may be the most important thing to understand about humans. It is the unknown that defines our existence. We are constantly searching, not just for answers to our questions, but for new questions. We are explorers. The prophets knew nothing of linear time. Therefore, they struggled with the concepts of seeking out knowledge and the unknown. Sisko, trapped as he was in the moment of his wife's death, was able to help them understand this by working through that moment himself. This may, perhaps, be one of the purest moments of Star Trek since it began in the 60s. It delivered a powerful message while helping the audience understand what this new show was going to be about. We were going to be explorers again, and Sisko was going to become our guide. Number 4. reading Quark the riot act. Sisko and Quark don't often share the screen together, though that said, there are several scenes between them that are seared into our memory. Now, it has to be said, Quark's got the high score when it comes to sparring, and you only need to look at scenes such as in the Jem'Hadar and the Siege of AR-558 to see what I'm talking about. However, Sisko undeniably lays down the law in business as usual. Strapped for cash and drowning in debt, Quark agrees to allow his holosuites to be used for demonstrating weapons. Haggoth, an associate of his cousin Gala, recruits Quark, promising obscene riches. There's just one problem with that. Odo. Quark is pulled up in front of Odo, smug in the fact that he didn't technically sell any weapons. Now, this smug grin only widens when Major Kira and Captain Sisko enter the office, ordering Odo to let him go. Haggoth, it turns out, has free reign to operate in Bajoran space. Quark smugly laughs. Better luck next time. You'd better hope there isn't a next time, mister. I have cut you a lot of slack in the past. I even looked away once or twice when I could have come down hard on you. But those days are over. Now, we may not be able to get you for selling weapons, but you so much as litter on the promenade and I will nail you to the wall. This round, this point, that goes to Sisko. And it's not even close. Number 3. The complexities of religious belief. By the close of Deep Space Nine's first year, Sisko had settled into his role as commander of the station and Federation representative to Bajor. One thing he was a little less comfortable with was his position as emissary of the Prophets. The season finale went a long way toward easing that. In the Hands of the Prophets gave the audience the wonderful Louise Fletcher as the dogmatic zealot Vedic Wynn. The truly dangerous power of people like this is their ability to weaponize other people's faith, which is exactly what she does when she arrives on the station. Wynn interrupts Keiko O'Brien's classroom, and initially, even Major Kira seems to support her. This division threatens to undo a lot of the good work that Starfleet and the Bajoran provisional governments had done together, but for Sisko, it really comes home when even Jake is caught in the crossfire. From Jake's point of view, his life is disrupted by religious people arguing over things that he doesn't understand, and he vents his frustration by calling the whole thing stupid. It may not be what you believe, but that doesn't make it wrong. If you start to think that way, you'll be acting just like Vedic Wynn, only from the other side. This crucial lesson for Jake not only helps the boy understands the complexities of what he's now been brought into, but also helps us see that Sisko has gone a long way toward accepting where he is now. Though Wynn would remain a fairly large thorn in his side for the following years, her arrival did go a little way toward helping the two Siskos understand each other a little bit better. Number 2. There is no rest in the Sanctuary. It's not that they don't give a damn, Doctor, it's that they've given up. The social problems they face seem too enormous to deal with. Though the dates of the Bell riots have now been and gone in 2024, past tense is no less prescient than it was when it was released back in the 90s. The social problems that Sisko was talking about, poverty, mental health crises, housing crises, and the vast disparity between classes, have only widened in the 30 years since this episode aired. Now, even more than when the show was on television, the apathy in society looks set to make this dark prediction come true. In true Trek fashion, Sisko takes the unorthodox step of getting directly involved in the events of the past. This episode is not calling for violent revolution, it's calling for direct and decisive action. What should have been an unimaginable future back then seems much closer to reality today than it ever did, with even Star Trek Picard's second season revisiting this theme. If problems like that seem too enormous to battle, then that means they need to be shared among everyone. And that might seem like a lofty ideal to some, but if Sisko got it right back in the 90s, then I think we can get it right in the 2020s. Number 1. So you're willing to destroy paradise in order to save it. This entry serves as the full circle moment to Sisko's speech in the Maquis Part 2. There, he described Earth as a paradise from which a lot of very well-meaning but ignorant humans sprang forth. Here, when faced with the alternative, Sisko stands up for the paradise as it should be, even if many of those inhabitants are now sinking into fear. Sisko struggles to get some of the locals, including his own father, to truly take the changeling threat seriously, Now, this is something Admiral Layton understands. Now, his methods left a lot to be desired, but there is a sort of Machiavellian logic to it. With the power grid sabotaged and Earth under martial law, Layton seems set to keep Earth safe, no matter if it means the sacrifice of personal liberty. If the changelings want to destroy what we've built here, they're going to have to do it themselves. We will not do it for them. Sisko does not so much make Layton agree with him, as much as he makes the man see that his efforts have failed. As we know, Earth would find itself under several states of war, including attacks from both the Borg and the Breen in the years to come. The question then is not, was Layton right to do what he did or not, but rather, was it time for Earth to start to understand that a darker version of the future now existed, and should they adapt to match it? Sisko, for one, was resolute. There may be forces outside of Earth that sought to destroy it, but those on Earth were not going to help them do it. Earth is still standing in the 32nd century, and Starfleet Academy is about to open its doors once again. It's safe to say that, naive, perhaps, as Sisko's belief might have been, history has shown that we might just make it. Hi, I'm Tom Larkin. Last time I told you about my GTN blog. Don't tell Starfleet. Thanks, Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one website platform designed to help entrepreneurs stand out online. Squarespace allows me to link my social and multimedia accounts in just a few clicks, so you can see everything that GTN has to report, including things Starfleet doesn't want you to know. Squarespace uses Daystrom-approved design intelligence AI technology. Take control and build a beautiful, personalized website catered to your needs. SEO doodads, so you show up to more civilizations more often, but beware, Section 31 is a thing. Go to squarespace.com/TrekCulture, where you will get a free trial and 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. And remember, don't tell Starfleet. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching along. What did you think? Did you enjoy these speeches? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much. Please make sure that you are following us on the various socials. I'm at Sean Ferrick, at TrekCulture. You'll find us everywhere. And please make sure that you're subscribed to the channel as well. Look after yourselves till I see you again. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. The Earth is a difficult place to live in right now, but as we've just seen, if we work together, we can make it a better place. Live long and prosper. Thank you very much.